So welcome back, everyone. I got a newbie with me, and I love when I have my newbies on. We're live on Facebook, so hi to everybody out there. I have with me Natalie Lawrence, and she's a designated broker of LovePhx Real Estate. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do and why you call it LovePhx. Welcome back to the show. I want you to go ahead and get up close so they can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Carol. I really appreciate you having me here today. I'm super excited to finally meet you in person. So I own LovePhx Real Estate. We are a residential real estate brokerage. We serve clients in the residential space throughout the valley and actually in Casa Grande. The reason for our name, I would say, is that love encompasses everything that we do. You know, we love our city, we love our community, we love our clients, and we really want to infuse everything that we do every day with love.
Well, I think that's awesome. And not only does she infuse her city and everything that they do, you are included because you're the clients and you love your clients as well.
Very much.
And I want to talk about, if there's a story behind that in any way. Because, when everybody starts a business, obviously, there is a story. And I'm going to go off on this so that a little bit, because if I go right down, this way I can help you be a little bit less nervous, okay?
I'm not nervous.
So I want you to talk about the brokerage and how you started it, right? And you are a young gal also too, being that you're the designated broker too. I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'll be 40 next year. So.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
Thank you. I've been doing this I've been in the real estate industry for about 18 years. Started in property management, came over to the residential side about 8 years ago, and I've been a broker for close to 4 years. And I just wanted to create something that was a little bit different than anything else that was out there. And so, creating a brokerage that was really rooted in community and not just real estate, because real estate for me is really about the people and the lives and who we're serving. So, human first.
When you work with people, you say that you're valley-wide, but you also work in Casa Grande. You do free consultations, and their phone number is 480-251-7776. The website is LovePhx, so LovePhx, PHX.com. So you build your brokerage, you've got these core values, right? And I want to talk about them. Authenticity, which, when in my day, we never even spoke about all of that, right? Compassion, advocacy, and mastery, too. I want you to talk about what all that means to you.
Yeah. I thought it was really important to build a foundation of core values for the company. I didn't see any other real estate brokerage doing this, not that they don't, but for me it was really important to be, the foundation of what we were building. And so with authenticity, nothing is one size fits all. There's no human being that's the same, there's no transaction that's the same, there's no property that's the same. And so when we show up with authenticity, we're able to serve at the highest level because we can be honest with people and transparent with them and meet them where they are and really honor the individuality of the human being, that property, whatever it may be.
So it's not just about selling the house to that person, right? Because you're going to find the home that they love. This is what it's all about. And when people do, especially those first-time home buyers, right? It's just there's nothing like walking into a home and going, this is it, right?
And it's not about the walls.
Exactly. I want to talk a little bit also about people today that are first-time home buyers or people that you help, because everything's a little bit of a process now. Obviously, what would for people that are new home buyers, what they should do to qualify and all of that to get ready, because there's things to do today to get ready before you even get into looking at a house.
Yeah, no, I love that question. So, the financing part of it really is the first step, but typically a buyer's going to reach out to a realtor first. Every so often you have a lender contact already in your circle, but when you reach out to your realtor, they're able to connect you with, somebody in their trusted network. If you're in Arizona, you really want to work with a local Arizona lender. It's absolutely crucial. Things here are very different than other states. So, figuring out what that financial landscape looks like for you, and it's never too early to do that. In fact, I would recommend starting if you plan to buy a house in the next year or 5 years, start right now and have the conversation with a lender, because they'll be able to tell you what you need to do to prepare. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to talk about stuff like that too, because there's a lot of people out there, especially with the prices today, you gotta know what you can buy. You don't wanna get yourself in the point where you're like, go out there and you're looking at something and then you're like, oh my God, I can't get that one because I don't qualify, right? But you need to prepare yourself. There's people also with credit issues, but they can prepare for that too, right?
Yep.
Now, when should somebody call you? I'm going right off of everything, right? I do it on purpose, but tell me when somebody should call you when they're starting to know that they're wanting to move. Maybe they're gonna move to a different school district for their children. When is the best time?
It's never too early. I tell a lot of my clients, most of my business is referrals, and I tell them all the time, refer them to me 5 years before they're ready. So really, it's never too early, because if I can build a relationship with you in advance and help you, I might be able to help you decide what the best move might be. It might be helping you decide what community is going to be the right area for you. You might think you want to be in Surprise and you really want to be in Mesa, and I can help you through that process of deciding. So it's never too early.
That's when somebody really loves their community and loves Phoenix, right? Because you know all of the different areas and you know all the right questions to ask, because you yourself may think one thing. And how many times has that happened where you're working with somebody and then the next thing they know they're not even living in that particular community that they
all the
wanted?
time, yeah. And we represent a lot of clients that come from out of state, and so sometimes they don't even know how far away these places are from each other.
Sure.
And, so I really like to start with discovery and getting to know the person first. The first thing I care about isn't how many bedrooms you want, and it's like, what's your lifestyle? What are the things that you're doing every single day? What's your favorite thing to do? Where do you work? And how do you want to spend your free time? And then, I might be able to zero you in on a very specific historic district downtown, because this has everything that you want.
Absolutely, I love that. And again, I'm loving just talking to you, because it's not just about, here's the home of your dream because it has 4 walls. No, this is really going to be the place that you're going to love to live, and hopefully for a long time. Her phone number is 480-251-7776. She's valley-wide, but also works in Casa Grande. She does free consultations, and the website is LovePhX for Phoenix, so LovePhX.com. You talk a little bit about, your how you feel about this authenticity and everything, and that your roots are in real estate, but rather in service and community. What do you mean about that?
Yeah, I love that. So it was really important to me when I started the brokerage that we had a foundation of community service, and so it's actually one of our requirements for anybody joining us, that they're involved in community in some way. So that could be something small as they're going to donate a portion of their compensation to a local organization, or they're volunteering at schools, or they're teaching classes. And one example is an agent of mine, Adriana, who is very passionate about working with first-time buyers, but specifically first-time buyers who don't know they'll ever be able to obtain home ownership. And so she's taken it to the next level by teaching classes for fair chance employers. And if anybody listening isn't familiar with that, fair chance employer is somebody who employs people who have served time. And so recently she's done a class at a wonderful company here called Awake Windows and Doors. And maybe you call them, actually, I would say. They're fabulous. And the owner took it to the next level and said, anybody that qualifies to buy a home with her, I'm going to make a financial contribution to your purchase. Aww. So a very generous one.
I love that.
Yeah, and then as far as, I'll give you another example. You get these postcards in the mail all the time, right, from realtors, and it's like, if you need to buy or sell, call me. Well, I mean, I don't care about getting a postcard like that. So we decided that, we needed to have a give. Giving precedes receiving, and giving's the reason for receiving. And so what can we do? Leverage our marketing to support a local business. So if you ever receive a postcard in the mail from us, it's going to have a local spotlight for somebody in your area, it's gonna be, you know, a boutique or a restaurant or a bar that opened, or, you know, something where we can say, hey, look at this place, bring this postcard in, here's something that they're offering.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you do that. I think it's so important too, when you're working with a real estate agent, broker, I should say, and
We're all agents,
designated
yes.
broker. But what I want to say about that is that when you feel the love,
Yeah.
and I can hear that from you, it's going to be a whole different feeling. And I love that you also have different agents that work for you,
Yeah.
that have like this specific one that talks that she works with first-time home buyers only, which I think that, well, maybe not just only, but she
Heavily.
specializes in that. And it's nice, and to learn what to do, and to a lot of people out there not even buying homes or not even looking at it because they think they can't qualify, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people we represent that they even come to us as renters, and they just have no idea that they can even purchase a home.
And have a home of your dream that you love,
Yeah.
and that's what she's all about. And again, you can call her direct at 480-251-7776. She works valley-wide, but also in Casa Grande. She does free consultations. The website is LovePhx for Phoenix.com. Hang tight, we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, you liking what we're doing here? Yeah. Now, I mean, a lot of yours are kind of reminiscent to your questioning, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of like
I like it.
trying to
I
throw
like
some
it, yeah.
things in there that
No,
are a
it's
little
perfect.
different. Okay, too.
Because I think sometimes like that, we're rehearsing it, so it makes me nervous.
Yeah, but
So I
you don't
like
want
that.
to, yeah, but you also don't want to keep on just saying the same sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to come on bringing it back and forth sort of type of thing.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about what it's like when you're working with a client, you know, and what happens. Like, you might want to even kind of tell a story. They like stories like that. Like if you have, when you work with somebody, what's that like? You said sometimes even 5 years, you know, before they even buy a home.
Yeah.
What does that typical conversation look like with you?
So I'll give you an example of, you know, one in particular where I helped a client that came here from out of state, and then they had their friends also coming here from out of state. They go, well, they're only thinking about it. You know, they may or may not. I'm like, well, just introduce me, and I can talk to them and help them decide, you know. And so their timeline was, you know, 3-5 years or something like that. But they bought a home the next year, and we are like the dearest of friends. So it's about the relationships for me, and so I think, you know. Can you imagine if somebody said, I want to refer you to this person, but then the agent you called said, okay, well, call me when you're ready.
You know what? I've heard people say that
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay. And then they're gonna lose that connection, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's about the relationships for me. I mean, there's no, you know, in any, my personal life and business life are not these two separate things, you know? So everybody that I meet and that I have the privilege of representing,
like
they
that.
become my friends, you know? They're at my
Yes.
holiday party, and, you know, we do cigar club together, and, you know,
Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
wonderful. I love that. I'm writing it down.
You've personally sacrificed for many years to create an impressive business and provided great careers for others. Are you ready to exit? You can easily continue your legacy.
Anyway,
Right by
yeah,
us,
because, you know, we can go over the same thing, but we want to be able to kind of talk about too, you know, when you walk into a home, how do you help these people make that decision? Can you help them make that? How do you do that? You said you talk to them, and, you know, the next thing you know, they're buying a home here.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, one of the things that I like to ask, or talk to people about right away is like, let's separate the fixed from the flexible, you know, because sometimes people get very distracted by the red paint or, you know, something that's like very easily changed.
Right.
And so let's start there, you know, before anything. What is absolutely non-negotiable? Is it a north-south exposure? We can't change that. Is it, you know, a 2-story versus a 1-story, and so on? And then
Right.
that helps.
That happened to me one time.
Yeah.
So welcome back, everyone. You know, during the break, we talked to Facebook Land, and I get to talk a little bit more with my clients, and I absolutely love to do that because we get to know each other a little bit more. More comes out. One of the things that Natasha was saying was that your business life and your personal life, they're really not that separate.
No.
Now, I want you to
No.
talk about what that means.
Yeah, You know, for me, it's sort of all one and the same, you know, and that's why, you know, meeting new clients, it's all about the relationship building for me, because these are people that become, you know, my closest friends, and, you know, and I spend a lot of time with in my life. So I don't have this work version of me and then this personal life version of me, and it's really all the same, and, you know, that's why I can work around the clock and not feel like it's work.
Yeah, and I love that too. You know, when you're working with somebody and you were talking a little bit about things that they can't change when they walk into a home, what is it that you know, are what's a deal breaker for you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I had that happen to me when I walked into a home one time and I could only see peach,
Yeah.
right? And I was really, I mean, everything was looking peach to me at that point, and
Yeah.
I got really upset about it. But there are things you could change and things like
Yeah.
that, and you can help with someone like me who
Yeah.
just sees peach.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really common. So it's a conversation that I have with buyers, especially first-time buyers. This is their, you know, like the first time they've really done this and they don't know how to see past certain things. The conversation I like to have first is, let's separate the fixed from the flexible. And so what are your deal breakers? What are your absolute must-have, your non-negotiables? Is it a north-south exposure? Is it, you know, a single-story house? Is it a school district? Is it any, like, what can we not change? And we need to separate that in one pile, right?
Mhm.
And then the flexible. Is it peach walls? Because we can paint the house,
Yeah,
right? Is
right.
it the cabinets? Are they whitewashed and from the 80s? Okay, we can change those. We can
Mhm.
refinish those. And so separating that, because so often people won't even realize that they're getting distracted and not even looking at a home or considering it,
Right.
because it has something that's very easily changed.
Mhm.
And so separating, I call it the fixed from the flexible.
Right, I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. And people, you just have to, you know, go in with open minds,
Mhm.
right? And the thing that I love about what I'm hearing from you the most is that when you work with your clients and you talk about serving the human, this is how the new people, the younger talk, you know, and serving you humans. And, you know, like before even the transaction,
Yeah.
and that's where this is all coming from, you know, talking and getting to know each other, and the love that's where it starts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So there's a quote by Ram Dass that I love, and it's, "We're all walking each other home." You know,
Well,
we're
isn't
all
that
just
true?
walking each other home.
Mm-hmm.
And that really resonates with me when it comes to real estate, but I think it applies to everything. You know, we're all, no matter what, you know, profession we're in, we're using our skills and our knowledge to navigate other people through
Sure.
unfamiliar territory.
Absolutely.
And so, and the only way that you can do that in at the highest level is really by serving that human being first
Mhm.
before the transaction.
And really getting to know your clients. It's not about just, you know, like you said, it's not about just getting us into this home. There are times when people do need to buy a home quick,
Mhm.
right, I'm sure. But even then, from what I'm hearing from you, again, doesn't matter how fast or slow, you're really, really, really just love them and nourish them.
Yeah.
Which I think is just awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think you hear that. That's what really truly makes you stand out,
Yeah.
right?
Well, thank you. And I mean,
Yeah.
even when it comes to sellers, I laugh sometimes because I tell people, you know, I might talk you out of selling your home. It might be the right decision, but it might not be. But I'm going to be honest with you and say, you know what, I think you should hold this for 3 more years, or I think that it would be better if you do this, you know, this instead. And so I would say 30% of the sellers that I meet with, it isn't the best decision for them to sell right then. And same, you know, with buyers. So I'm always going to be honest and transparent, and you know, that relationship means more to me than any transaction.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people talk about the market,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when it comes to reality, your life has nothing to do with the market.
Yeah.
You know, so many people, you might have to sell your house for certain reasons,
Yeah.
right? You also might have to change the school district that your children are
Yeah.
in all of a sudden, or you get a job that's in a whole nother,
Yeah.
you know, part of the valley.
Right.
And this is where it really matters
Yeah.
more than anything.
Yeah.
You can say, is this the right time to buy? A lot of, you know, if I asked you that question, how do you answer that?
I actually love that you asked me that, because it's one of my favorites. I'm like, how's the market? It's such a vague question. Well, it's how's the market for who? Right? Because the market's the market. And so
Exactly.
Is it a right time to buy? Well, I don't know. Is it the right time to buy for you? That's a whole separate question, right? Because, you know, right now I would say if somebody came to me and said, is it the right time to buy? Well, what are your plans with the house? Are you planning to flip it? It's probably not the right time to buy for you,
Mhm.
right? So the answer is not one size fits all, nor is anything else, you know, and the market will always be the market, and it just depends on who it's serving best at that time.
Right, and we're all talking about the rates and all of this, and
Yeah.
again, everybody, no matter what, with certain things, sometimes things just have to happen.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with anything other than your life.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And I think you have a lot of them. You wanna kind of maybe tell a story about one of your clients that you worked with that you might like to share with people?
Gosh, I have so many stories.
I'm sure.
You know, well, I mean, just, I guess, you know, some of the things that really just remind me every day, like why I love this so much. I have, this will never leave my mind, there's a gentleman that was referred to me by a lender, and so I really love working with people who are going through a hard time, you know, a challenge, and just so that I can give them that additional compassion that they really need. And I'm sitting at a coffee shop with this guy, and, you know, we're talking about what he needs and so on, and his energy kind of shifted very quickly, and he sank a little bit, and he said, "Can I just be honest with you?" It made me cry.
Aw. But I love that.
Sorry.
Though, that's
So
okay.
he said, so he's going through a divorce, and he said, my biggest fear is that I buy a house my kids don't want to come to.
Aw.
And so, you know, I knew that, like, that was my purpose for him right there, is to make sure that that didn't happen. And I'm very proud to say that we got him into a house that his kids loved, and I made, you know, made sure that they were part of the whole process. So it's like those little things that they really do
And
just
you know
stay
what?
with me.
I think it's so cool that you attract the kind of man that would even say that.
Yeah.
When you think about it, most men would not
Yeah.
think about that, and I'm sure my ex is probably listening, but that's okay. I will say this, you know, it didn't matter to him. It was a,
Yeah.
you know, one bedroom type of a thing, and it wasn't thought about, and I
Yeah.
think that's really neat. But you attract that person that cares.
Yeah. Oh, I will cry with my clients, yeah.
And, you know, I think that's what's wonderful is the home that you live in, the house that you buy becomes your home,
Yeah.
right? And it is what she calls love, and I love it. It's sort of like the Beatles in a way, right? You know, when you think about it. And it's really neat, though, that you care that much, and that's how far she's gone into, you know, just every part, every facet of the way that she does business, the way that you run your business, the way you work with your clients. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, that phone number to call her direct, it's 480-251-7776. She does free consultations. She works valley-wide and also in Casa Grande, and it's LovePhx.com. So for people that you would have advice for, that are looking for a home, and not just a house, we just said it just now, I just said it before I even read this, a home, but a true place to land and belong. I love that. I love the way you speak. And she
Thank
just
you.
wrote these questions, but it's neat.
So, and I actually, this is advice I give to my buyers and sellers, but every roadblock is nothing more than a redirection, and all redirections lead home. And so the process might be really easy. Sometimes it really is, and you go, "What, is that it?" And it might not be easy at all. It might have a lot of what you think of as roadblocks. And so if you can just remember through the process that these roadblocks are nothing more than a redirection, and it's just time to pivot, and you pivot, and you pivot, and at the end, I promise, if you remember that, you're gonna either get the keys or hand the keys off, whatever you're a seller or buyer, and you're gonna go, "Oh my gosh, it all makes sense. If it weren't for these things happening, I
Right.
wouldn't be where I'm supposed to be right now."
And how many people can relate to that when you look at something, when something's really happening to you at that very moment, and you think it's the end of the world, and then you turn around and years later, it really was the best thing that ever happened to you.
And I'm telling you, 100% of the time, that's how the story ends.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm positive. Another thing that I want you to talk to people that are maybe selling their home today, right now, how do we get ready for that?
Preparation and execution are key, and I'm actually glad you asked that, because I take over listings for people sometimes that their house just didn't sell on the market, and you go in and you're like, it's time to paint, it's time to stage, it's time to do the video and do all of the marketing. I know we're short on time, but
It's okay.
It's all about the execution and working with somebody who knows how to execute.
And not only to execute, to help you get ready
Yeah.
for that special moment.
Yeah.
It's because the more that you do, I
Yeah.
hate to say this, the more that you put that love into it,
Yeah.
the more you're gonna get out of it.
It's not about just a sign in the yard.
Exactly. Again, that phone number to call her direct, it's 480-251-7776. You can definitely feel the love from her, not only for the people who are buying, but for selling as well. And she loves Phoenix. Again, that phone number to call is 480-251-7776. She does free consultations. It's LovePhx.com.